What is up, my people? Welcome back to the Steep Stuff Podcast. I'm your host, James Lariello, and we're going to hop into another exciting episode. None other than Lara Hamilton joins the podcast. The ski mountaineer and mountain runner by way of Sydney, Australia, joins the pod. We chat all about the 2026 Olympics for Skimo that Laura is in the process now of trying to make the team for Australia. I know it's a long and lengthy process, and she's kind of beginning the process now, although she's been training for it for many years, like many athletes have been. We also dive deep in her 2024 and plans for her 2025 mountain running season. We talk about her life as well as a DJ, the sacrifices that she has to make and that most of these athletes have to make in order to try to make the Olympic teams. We talk about so much. Talk about the Golden Trail Series, the Golden Trail Series final. It's a fun one. This is one of the really exciting episodes that I'm excited to hop into to start the year. So without further ado, I'm going to stop mumbling. I'm going to get into it. Lara Hamilton is on the Steep Stuff Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
Lara Hamilton, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the Steep Stuff. How's it going?
It's going awesome. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm so excited we were finally able to do this. Like, I feel like we've like talked on and off for like months now, and obviously you know where you live. You're in the Gunny Valley in that general area, and I was just like, I'm in Colorado Springs. Do you have any? Yeah. Do you ever want to come out to the Front Range? And you're like, well, not really. So
Only rarely at this point, especially in ski season. Like, I'll be leaving behind the powder.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, hey, I'm so glad we were able to finally do this, especially on the cusp of some big plans that you've got coming up for 2025. So I couldn't think of a better time to sit down and finally have a conversation. If you wouldn't mind, introduce yourself for the audience and maybe give us a little background.
Yeah, well, hi guys, I'm Lara. That's obvious. We talked about that. I am originally from Sydney, Australia, which is a big city. And I moved to the US for NCAA collegiate running in, 2019, and was on that program for 3 years doing my master's. And once I graduated, I went back to Australia and decided, hey, I really want to pursue mountain sports. It's going to be better for me to try and be in the US for that. So I did everything I could to try and find a job in the US and was successful with that and moved my life over here in late 2021, first to Boise and then to Colorado in early 22. And I have been in the Gunnison Valley ever since, and I love it.
Yeah, welcome. Well, I couldn't think of a more beautiful place to live. It's so funny. I think I've like literally emptied out the Gunny Valley of like just athletes that have been on my podcast now. Like literally everybody's either gone to Western, has some affiliation with Western, or like lives in the area. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, this is a great place to train. The altitude can be tough though, like for full recovery, but I think you can make it work and use it to your advantage.
Yeah, no, it's so true. Well, let's rewind this and take it back a little bit. Like being from Sydney, Australia, like I think people think of Sydney as either like, especially Americans, because Americans are funny that way. Like we either think of like Finding Nemo or we think of like kangaroos and giant spiders. At least maybe that's just me. But like, what was it like growing up in such a different place than where you are now?
Yeah, you know what? I loved it. And as I've grown older and learnt more lessons and been lucky enough to see a lot of the world and the way people live, I realize more and more how thankful I am for the way that I grew up. So, a lot of time outside. That's probably a family thing as well. I grew up surfing and skiing before I knew that I had learned to do that. So, when you learn a new skill as an adult, you're really conscious about it. You go through the emotions a little more heavily, whereas when you're a kid and then you just grow up knowing how to do it, that's a gift and you're not as aware. So yeah, you can ski in Australia. It's awesome. We would spend our winters going to school and then getting time off school to go compete for the school in skiing, which is awesome. Surfing up and down the coast on road trips. You do wear uniforms at school, and I actually loved it. I hate having to choose what to wear every day. And that really surprises people here. For high school, I went to an all-girls school. And that's also abnormal. But in Australia, it's actually more common because our school system isn't quite the same. I think I do prefer what you guys do over here with that. But I had a really awesome upbringing, and I'm so thankful to my parents because I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now at a high level if it wasn't for them.
That's so cool. So in some of the research I did about you, I think I read somewhere parents skied, right? Is that true as well? So that's kind of the upbringing skiing, and we can kind of fold that into Skimo and Nordic skiing and stuff like that for what you do now. That's so interesting. So you were Nordic skiing then in your formative years.
Well, I started as a downhill alpine racer through the gates.
Okay.
Quickly realized that I am never going to be a muscly, like super powerful build to take that to a high level. Like I took it to a high level within the school system. But I was also competing at Nordic at the same time. So the school would send me to compete in alpine skiing and Nordic skiing. And then I just was better at the endurance side of things. Still kept downhill skiing for fun. I was very lucky. My parents liked to ski overseas. So we would save up and then we would come to the US and ski. And I took Nordic further after school, but then found a love for running quite late and took that, pretty far in the track and cross country world, and kind of put Nordic to sleep for a little while just with the NCAA. I still got out to ski. They did give me permission to do that, given that I already knew how. That's like an anomaly when it comes to NCAA. Normally they don't let you ski. And then when I moved to Gunnison, I needed another way to stay fit. It's super, it's so snowy, it's, I think the coldest in the lower 48 too. So I picked up ski mountaineering. I just put the uphilling of the classic style of Nordic combined with my downhill skills. And then, I'm now really trying to perfect those transitions, and boom, you've got ski mountaineering, kind of.
Kind of. No, I got it.
Yeah, resort ski mountaineering.
So let's talk about Skimo. I don't want to bury the lead too much, especially going into the 2025 and then 2026 season. It seems like a lot of not just people in the Gunny Valley, but like just across the country and across the world are getting ready for Skimo in the Olympics, and you're definitely one of them. Can you maybe talk about the planning, the preparation, the process, the goals, and just like what your plans are for that?
Yeah, planning an itinerary for this has been tricky. You could see it as fun, but you're bopping around from World Cup to World Cup in all these tiny ski resorts in different countries. Like my first stop is Andorra. Never been there before. Super excited. But trains, planes, and automobiles. This is a first for me. 2 months of that. It's going to be a great experience. Before I go to Europe, I'm going to compete at the US Nationals. As someone who's foreign, I'm not allowed past a lot of the qualifying rounds. So really these races for me next week are to brush up my skill set in a race environment with a bit more pressure, come back home, train hard for a couple of weeks, and then, go to the big dance and do as best I can. Preparation for this, it's funny because I was running the other day. I was really thinking about this. It hasn't just been this year. It's been before I even knew what ski mountaineering was, because I think since I was 15, I've had coaches for endurance sports that are on skis. I've been in the gym, mountain biking, running, just always consistent since that age, and competing in different sports. So when I think about it, it's been since then. And I wanted to go to the Olympics for surfing when I was 15. And I remember my parents saying, hey, like, we live 20 minutes from the beach. Like the kids that you're competing against live on the beach. It was really hard. I tried it and it kind of took the love out of surfing for me. I just prefer to keep that a hobby. Then it was for Nordic skiing. Then it was for track, and I found Skimo, and then the opportunity opened up and I was like, I got to go for it. So it's been more specific, but this has been a really long process. Psychologically, emotionally, the training, and we're putting it all together now.
That's so exciting. You must be like ecstatic, like so stoked, especially because like the big dance and like just getting, I don't know. I feel like I had Cam on and Cam explained a lot of stuff to me from so more so like the American side on how like to get in and stuff like that. And it's, dude, what a long process just to like get a qualification spot and then to go and then to compete. It's like, I don't know. To me, it felt like this is emotionally, mentally, and physically exhausting. So like, I don't know. It's going to be exciting. I've now met through the podcast so many people that are trying to get in through Skimo. So like, I'm really hoping that like one of you get it in, like somebody gets in. So I can be like, oh my God, I know an Olympian. Can you talk a little bit about from the because I know we briefly touched on this before the podcast. Can you maybe talk a little bit about the process on how from the Australian side, how that gets in? Cause it's through Oceania. Is that correct? It's battling it out through the oceanic countries.
Yeah. But look, Australia is like the domineering force, and take everything I say with a slight grain of salt because sometimes it's even a little confusing to me. You get sent this big PDF document with all these bullet points and all these percentages and like A qualifying standard, B qualifying standard, C, and then a little extra one that says discretionary. And you're like, what? So then my brain goes, well, just do as best you can, which is all you can do. But essentially, to qualify for the Australian team, you needed to have shown that you're competent and able to be competitive in the Olympic disciplines, which is sprint and mixed relay. And for me, I competed at the World Cup last year, which helps you potentially get onto the World Championships team this year. And you should try and be on the World Championships team, which is just a set of races in Switzerland in March, because that is part of our Olympic qualifying process. But that's only 2 women and 2 men. Then there's 3 other World Cups 4, 5, and 6, which are part of our qualification process. So you can qualify without going to World Champs, but it would really help to go to World Champs. And World Champs selection is based off all your other results. So it's kind of tiered in a way that to get on the Australian team, then you have to do well in other races. Then you come to Olympic trials, but your races beforehand do count to help with your Olympic trials. So everything, I don't know if it's a domino effect or something, but like you have to hit a bunch of points to kind of get to the final destination.
Gotcha.
And then, it's up to the federation to pick who they think is going to be the best representative at the end of all of that.
Oh, wow. That's so crazy. Are you stress, excitement? Like what's the emotions like? It's a lot of ups and downs between now and then, you think, or like, how does that work?
I have to say, and I've done some pretty high level competition, I used to be good on the track, but it's not my focus anymore. I've never been so concentrated and focused on anything in my life. It does change who you are a little bit. I've noticed I am trying to, ease into that side of me, but there is so many sacrifices. Like I'm moving house to somewhere cheaper, still within the valley, to cut costs. I didn't get to go see my family for Christmas, which was the plan, because the costs are going to Skimo. I got a new job and the job is flexible, but I just make ends meet so I can keep training. I brought on a strength coach. There's been so many just big changes, and knowing I'm about to live out a suitcase basically starting next week for 2 months is a big thing. And when I'm out training by myself, I'm lucky to have a lot of training partners. sometimes I get emotional. I'm not happy. I'm not sad. I'm not frustrated. I'm not angry. I'm not anxious. I'm just like, whoa, I am so ready to go and do this because this has just been a culmination of so many years. Whether I get a spot or I don't, or I, do really well in one race and another, that's like kind of out of my control at this point. I've done everything I can.
Yeah.
But we're at a culmination of physical, emotional, mental. I need to go and do this at some point because I will say it's not sustainable to keep up this much training for a long time.
Yeah. Like what a ride, man. Like, I don't know. I find it like, cause I don't know. I don't ski. I'm more so on the mountain running side. And like, I just get so hyped and so excited for the season ahead. And then when the season's over, like you almost go through like a little bit of a depression. You're just like, oh, it's over.
Yeah.
Damn. I don't know. I just feel like the ride for something like that, especially for an Olympic build, is just insane and just, I don't know, pretty admirable. Very cool. So, wow. And what is the training like? Are you doing like, what does it look like for this? Are you uphill in Crested Butte all the time, or like what are you doing?
Well, I'll say we're only at the 3rd of January and I'm probably almost on 60 days on skis at this point.
Wow.
My goal was like 100 for the season, but I'm easily going to do that. Yeah, because I've never like gone all in on skiing. Normally I'm running a bunch too, and I am still running a lot, but not as much as last year. So training wise, I'm training for a 3 to 4 minute event in the sprint, and then I haven't actually done a mixed relay. Going to do one next week.
Nice.
Idea, hey. But I've studied it a lot and I understand what's required of it. And that is probably closer to, what my engine's made for. So like a 10-minute, 2 times 10-minute effort.
Yeah.
Basically for training, I am in the gym a lot. Not necessarily lifting really heavy weights, but that was a massive game changer to me because I wasn't accessing my full power. So all the good uphill results you've seen from me lately are because I changed up a bunch of things in the way that I train, especially having ankylosing spondylitis. So I am born extremely stiff. I have never been able to touch my toes. You can't train it into me. I just can't. But using the strengths I do have, I've become, I think, a powerhouse on the uphills now, and I'm pretty stoked about it. Didn't even realize I had this talent, and I am just building off it since October. I practice my downhill skiing a lot. There's gates. You need to be able to turn sharp corners on these tiny, skinny skis. I also run, 5 to 6 hours a week, a long run and a couple runs that are over an hour. And yeah, then there's also the emotional piece. I speak to a sports psychologist. Absolutely everything is optimized right now because it has to be. That's going all in.
Yeah. Can we talk a little bit? Let's talk weights and like spending time in the weight room. Cause I think I literally feel like I say this in every podcast because I was just so blown away by Cam telling me he was in the gym like 4 to 5 hours a week. I was like, damn, dude. And that rubbed off on me, like from a mountain running perspective, because now I feel like I spend way more time in the gym than I ever used to. And it makes such a difference for your uphill running. I don't think people get it. But from a power perspective, like what are you doing like in the gym?
Yeah. So most people probably think when they hear the word power that I'm in there doing like super heavy squats, going down slow and rising up really fast. I'm not. I am learning to use my muscles correctly to access their full power, full range of motion, because I haven't done that for 25 years. And only now am I. So there's a bunch of mobility that's blended in with strength. So it's like a strength mobility exercise. We're working with my current limitations to be superpowers. Like I raise my heels when I do a lot of my stuff because my mobility isn't great in that respect, but it allows me to access my muscles with that blockage that I have. And, it's really working right now. I'm not in the gym like an hour every day, but like 30 minutes, then maybe an hour session, just bit by bit, tapping away at everything. Like we do scapular control, or you have glute focus sessions rather than like a whole body session 2 times a week, which is more of a running thing.
Yeah.
But I still do this for running now too.
Yeah. I think it makes a difference even for running too. Like just there's little, I mean, from the like a plyometric perspective, and like you said, just being able to use your muscles in the right way. Like you don't have to be like doing anything fancy, but like even if you're playing with the box, like doing box jumps in the right way or like single leg stuff, like all those little things make such a difference for power and like being able to just, I don't know, just not hurt yourself. I mean, injury prevention too. So yeah, it's interesting. So one of the things you touched on is, did you say you said spondylitis? Is that what you had said, or something like that? With your
It's a bit of a mouthful. It's ankylosing spondylitis. So ankylosing spondylitis is a inflammatory rheumatological autoimmune disease. You're born with it. As you get older, it gets worse. It kind of only presents in your early to mid-20s, but it takes a lot of doctor's appointments to figure out, because to end up at a rheumatologist, you had to have gone through other doctors. But, you find out through a series of MRIs, and the MRIs progressively get worse, inflammatory markers in the blood, and then a bunch of testing and also trials of the medication. And if you don't have it, the medication won't work. And if you do, you'll feel almost normal again, which I am lucky to have right now. But this medication is ridiculously expensive, and I'm on scholarship for it because I would have no money if it wasn't for that.
Oh my gosh. And how do you train with it? Like, you're on the medicine and it completely just like you're able to feel okay and completely knocks it off?
Look, I notice when I get to the end of the 30 days of the dosage, because I'm taking an injection once a month now. I used to take it twice a month, but your body will start to recognize it and then it won't work anymore. And I'm trying to extend the lifetime of the medication, because at some point I'm going to run out of medications and then I don't know what to do. So I'm on my second medication. I think they've made 4 or 5, and that's maybe how much time I have left to do this at a high level. Yeah, by the end of that course, you start to feel a little bad. And then you're like, okay, wait for the 31st or the 30th to come around so I can feel good again. Then you take the injection and you kind of feel sick for a couple of days. Like yesterday, I didn't feel well because your immune system gets all suppressed, and then give it a day or two and boom, you're back. But this has taken 3-4 years to dial in what works for me. When you first get diagnosed, it sucks. You have to go through a series of tablets that don't really work, but they make you do it. It's so dumb. And then you have to go through a really long process to get the injections approved. And you have to trial the injections. They take about 12 weeks to kick in. And then finally, you might see some relief. But then you have to combine that with strength and mobility every single day, a diet that's not inflammatory. And if I don't get good sleep, it's horrible. And this is the first year, 2024, and coming into 25, where I've actually felt like a normal human.
Wow.
Yeah, otherwise it used to affect my mood so much. So I'm pretty grateful right now.
That's crazy. It's interesting to me. And the reason I brought it up is because in the research that I did for this, for our podcast, there's an American trail running article where I guess it was Tate Pullman that had written a little bit about your experience with this and gone through it. And I'll link that in the show notes for the listeners. But can you talk a little bit about that? I think it was the experience, the Golden Trail final, where you were at the final and had to go back to Australia to get an MRI because you weren't sure what was wrong with you. Is that correct?
Yeah, the story isn't like exactly like that, but it's very similar. So this was 2023. I was so lucky. I achieved my dream of getting to the Golden Trail finals through getting a US Canada national spot, so the golden ticket. And I had this huge flare up. I remember I was so ready. I was so fit. I went to do a track workout with my housemate one night, and I warmed up and I was like, this is going to be killer, because I was set to fly out that weekend. It was a Tuesday. And I did one stride and I was like, awesome. And then I stopped and boom, like electric shocks down both my legs. And I just thought, oh no, like something's happened. I tried not to panic, but the tears came, and I got a couple of emergency appointments in with like the people around here, but no one could really explain what was going on, because I was like, have I torn something? No, I hadn't torn anything. My disease had just really got the best of me. I was pushing training really hard. I didn't have all the knowledge I had now back then. And maybe it could have been prevented. But yeah, I tried to rest. And up until the last moment I was allowed to, I was like, hey, I am not going to be able to come. And that broke my heart, because I remembered in 2020 when they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I was sitting on the couch at home in Australia with my dad in lockdown, and I put on that video on YouTube with like Maud Matisse and all of them in the Azores. It's such a cool video.
It is.
Running the Golden Trail like highlights. And I said, one day I'm going to be there. And everyone in my family kind of looked at me weird, because I hadn't run in 8 months. I, wasn't super athletic anymore. No one knew what was wrong. And I had finally done it. I was like, I'm here. 3 years later, I'm going. And then I couldn't go. And I did spend a little bit of time in probably like contextual depression. But I swam, I biked, I yogaed my way out of that, and came back better and just started again and made it this year. But I didn't make it off qualifying because I wasn't able to do, again, another flare-up savaged my Sierras Anal. But I was like, I'm going to pay my way there, and I'm going to show that I, belong in that overall top 30. And I did that. And sometimes that's how it rolls.
Yeah, that's amazing. Not to like pivot too hard to the Golden Trail series and just like plans for 2025, but I did see you signed up for some of the stuff with Broken Arrow. What do you got planned for 2025, especially in conjunction with like getting out, because you'll be getting off the ski season, I guess, going into running season. So are you going to do a lighter running season this year? Like, what do you got planned?
It is hard to say, because dependent on what happens with Skimo. And then, I've got the Grand Traverse when I get back here, which is a super cool race from Crested Butte to Aspen. That will close out. I think I have one more race in early April. That'll close out my Skimo season. But then I have the GoPro Mountain Games in Vail, because Mountain Games and Vail Valley Foundation sponsored me this season and through till June. And I feel super appreciative of that. And so I'm going to go there and compete in some of the running events, and hopefully play a gig, some DJing. So combining my two favorite things.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah. And then I will go to Broken Arrow, and then probably on to the Mexico Golden Trail series. We just are planning that side of things with Golden Trail now. I'm still deciding about my time in Europe. I am trialing for the Australian team in world mountain running. I would love to go for the vertical and classic like I did in 23, but we'll see what happens there. And that's that. I'll be pretty happy if I can do Broken Arrow, Mountain Games, and, world champs, and maybe one other Golden Trail. It doesn't need to be perfect.
Yeah. So. Yeah. What is that like? What's the qualification like from the Australian side for like when they pick their world's team? Because like we have our qualifiers, if you will. Do you guys have like a similar thing or?
Yeah. So there's qualifying races, but the selection period has started in April last year and runs through to the end of March this year for races that would count. But then they actually have a trial. And I think there's 4 women, 4 men for each discipline. So a couple spots are resume and a couple spots are off the trials. So, I'll be putting forward my performances that I've done recently in my application. Yeah, because I'm going to get a ton of running races in between now and when it shuts. So.
Right. And I feel like just off your, what was it, was it October when you placed 6th at that VK? Can you talk a little bit about it? Because that was a lights out performance. Phenomenal.
Well, thank you. This is wild, actually, now that I think about it, because I was going to use it as a tune-up for the Golden Trail that next weekend. And I caught a plane, The travel took forever. And I'm in this car going from Milan to Chiavenna around Lake Como. And this drive takes forever because if you ever driven around Lake Como, it's full of tourists and traffic. And so what should take a short amount of time takes forever. And I just remember feeling nauseous, delirious, and waiting for this van that got me from the airport from the World Mountain Running to pick up other people. But then I quickly realized we're not picking anyone else up. So I thought, well, you race in less than 24 hours, 24 hours off the plane. You better lie down as much as possible if you want to try and do anything good in this race. So I'm lying in this van, trying to sleep. I did fall asleep and then woke up in Chiavenna, shoved a bunch of food down, didn't do any shakeout jog, just lay down, did some mobility, woke up, still kind of where am I? Jogged over to the start line. I was like, I feel all right, and sea level, and just told myself, get to the top as fast as possible, because then, not that it'll be over, but the pain. And I'm really good at racing myself. And it felt a lot like what I used to train on at home in Australia, with a lot of stairs and a lot of just really steep stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I just did it. I think I just didn't overthink it. I just got up and ran up a hill as fast as I could.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. And it looked like such a tormentingly terrible course. Not to talk anything bad about the race, because it looked fun, but the course with the steps, I train on the incline a lot because I live in Manitou, and I'm on the incline 3 or 4 times a week, but I still hate stairs. It's the worst. So being able to run fast upstairs, I don't know, especially you're kind of tall. I'm pretty short. So I don't know, for short people, it's not as fun. I feel like for taller people, it's a little bit easier for stairs. I don't know.
Look, I don't know, but I always think about it as changing gears. So you have big stride fast running, where you extend out. You have the little tippy toe running, and then power hiking. You can power hike with your arms swinging. You can power hike by pushing down on each leg. So all these different gears, and I just tried to do whatever was most efficient for the grade, or the terrain ahead, and make that decision, because I tested out on treadmills all the time. I realize I'm actually sometimes faster power hiking if I pretend I have poles in my hands. Can't explain to you why. Rather than pushing on my knee like the typical style, there's probably a name for it. But yeah, when I figured that out, I was like, oh, okay, only bring that out, the arms, when you feel so tired. And I visualize the poles in my hands and I just go. Yeah.
Interesting. The way, I guess, with weight distribution, and just that makes a lot of sense. I might try that tomorrow on the incline. I'll let you know.
Yeah. I think it changes your body position.
Yeah.
And since I grew up skiing, it's a lot more familiar to me to do that.
Oh, that makes sense. How was it? Is that the first race you ever did where it was not, I wouldn't say wave starts, but it was one person goes and then wait a couple minutes or however many seconds, and then the next person goes. It wasn't a full on start with a mass start. What did you think of that? Was that a little weird to have to race yourself on a time trial?
So I feel like I do really well when I'm being chased.
Yeah.
And I'm chasing. I love it. It feels more like cross country and track days. So yeah, 30-second waves. I just told myself, do not let the people behind me get me at all costs. I didn't give myself a choice, and they didn't. And then I realized, you should actually start hunting down people up the front. So that became my next goal. It's I'd see one person, I need to go pick them off. I don't know. I just loved it. And growing up in Nordic skiing, a lot of the races are time trials because you just can't send that many people off in such a narrow track.
Right.
And this is a real VK. It's one of the most accurate in the world for the distance and the elevation. And it's so narrow, you couldn't have a mass start because there's nowhere for it to funnel, to have the people go, single file.
Yeah. I noticed a lot of people, I noticed Christian Allen was wearing road shoes. He was wearing Nike Alpha Flies or something like that. Did you wear road shoes? What did you go with?
No, that's impressive. It had rained a lot. It was pretty slippery. And I just didn't want to fall face first. I wore Salomon S-Lab Ultra 3. They're my favorite. There's probably no cushion. I do not like cushion. I just like to feel the ground, but love good grip, and some stiffness through the midsole. And that's what I picked.
Interesting. Wow. Yeah, I gotta find out what's. I know I gotta ask Joe what he wore. I know like a lot of people. It was very weird to see guys in like road shoes and VKs. Like I don't know. It's always strange to me. Are you pumped for the Broken Arrow VK this year? I feel like this one out of. I mean, I thought last year was stacked, but I think this year might even be more bananas because now that it's a selection race for the U.S. for Worlds, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome because the field's going to be so good, and the field in 24 was so good. So it's going to level up again probably, which is amazing. The course is
It's changed, right? It's a little bit different.
it's yeah, well, it's not a lot of the races in the US are true VK. I don't think it has 1,000 meters, which will probably be 3,000 feet of vertical gain. But it simulates it. I think it being more runnable, I just picked the wrong strategy last year. I took poles, and that is not a poles one. Now I know that, and yeah, we'll see. Course-wise, I know what I need to practice to do well at that, but I much prefer like super steep 1,000 meter short distance VKs.
Oh wow. Have you ever come out here and ran the incline before?
I've done it, but I didn't time trial it.
Oh,
I
you
just
should. You got to come out and do a time trial. It's always fun to see like different athletes come out and just throw down times on it. It's pretty wild. So it's fast.
A springtime incline would be great.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Are you doing the 23K or the 46K this year?
The 23K and the VK.
Okay, so 23. Oh wow. So that's going to be the Golden Trail Series race. So that'll be dope.
Yeah, so exciting to have it so close to home.
Yeah. Finally. Are you so? I mean, I would imagine you'll probably go to Worlds. I would say like that's probably like a probable thing for you. Like, have you thought at all about like that Pyrenees course and like what that looks like, or or are you just taking things one step at a time?
Well, pretty lucky to be going to the Pyrenees for a very significant amount of time here soon. I am going to live in Font Romeu at the Athlete Centre there.
Wow.
Which is in the French Pyrenees. And I'm going to get myself a car and I'm going to drive over to the area and just have a look. Yes, it'll probably be wintry, but probably not as wintry as Colorado gets. I then, if selected, will plan on living around the course for a little while and practicing on it and training on it, because I did pretty well at Innsbruck, but I know I can do better, just how much I've improved the last few years. And having an idea of the course and how to go about it strategically would be awesome. Yeah. So that's my plan if that happens.
I love that all-in approach. That's so dope.
You have to.
Oh, for sure.
So much time and like money and stuff because our team isn't funded at all. I feel like you may as well just go all in.
Yeah, no, for sure. Pivoting back to Skimo, one of the questions I thought was interesting because you did say was the Grand Traverse. Are you more motivated, like Skimo-wise, more from a performance perspective or the adventure? Because I was going to kind of pivot that into a question about like Piramenta and some of those like longer races. Does that interest you at all, or?
Yeah, look, right now at my age with the capacity I have to work at a really high heart rate for a certain amount of time, I really want to capitalize on that because I know that, Hard Rock 100, all of those types of races for running, Piramenta, PDG, I want to do that stuff, but I have time to do that stuff.
Right.
I still want to run a faster 5K on the track at some point, but that doesn't last forever. And I would love to perfect my ice climbing skills, do some more rock climbing. But right now with my goals, it's not conducive to that. And I would like to take my time with that and really enjoy the process. So I love adventuring. There's Red Lady here, which you can do before work, and it's super cool because you could go to the Glades if the Avi Danger's high. You can drop into the Bowl, which is powdery. But yeah, nothing too wild right now because it's just not what I'm training for.
Yeah. No, I just love the focus. You're just all in on that one goal. That's pretty dope. Yeah, it's cool. So is your like long-term plan? Like, do you want to will you ever go back to Australia, or do you want to plan to stay in America as long as you can?
Yeah, so I don't plan like that because m my life's not like, oh, I came to the US for a job. Exactly. Like I like my career and I like what I do and I do my best I can at it and it does help me stay here. But I have two jobs. I am an athlete and I actually have three, musician and marketing. And so whether I achieve these goals will help determine that. But also, I'm the type of person that if I don't achieve the goal, I'll just move to the next one or find a new one. And whether that goal's here or in Australia, I don't know. It's hard to tell. I just kind of go where the wind takes me right now, oriented by my goals. I don't, own a house. I don't own a pet. So I've set up my life that I can chase those things with a full heart whilst I'm young.
Yeah. Oh, it's so dope. All right, let's finally talk about being a DJ. I've been wanting to ask you about this for the longest time. So, like, how did this come about? And I hope you are the first like professional athlete / DJ that we get like in trail running / Skimo. It's pretty dope. So, where did this come from?
Yeah, and do you mind if I tell a cool story at the end?
Yeah,
Because
please.
it's one of those stories you would share over like a drink at a bar with all your mates, and it would be funny. So, I actually have a master's of music performance in opera singing. So I'm a professionally trained opera singer. I can still sing like that. Sometimes I just practice in my room, but there's no gigs, and all the gigs that you could get are like weddings and stuff like that they book ages in advance, and they always clash with my race schedules, and I would rather be in the mountains than dressed up to sing for 10 minutes at someone's wedding. But I was like, hey, music's such a big part of my life, and it was growing up, and I don't do enough of it. And if I don't have music, I don't feel safe almost, because sport is such a high, low thing. And music's kind of always there for me. Like when I put on music and do a track workout, I just can run faster. It's amazing. So I figured out, hey, like what is something I can do here that still brings me the same joy that's in demand? And I got a DJ coach. He was actually a co-worker at the Nordic Center. He is. And he helped teach me the fundamentals. And then I used a school of YouTube and a lot of questions to people who know what they're doing. And then I used my tax return money to buy all the gear because it's ridiculously expensive. So I was like, okay, I'm going to practice myself. Then I started DJing friends' parties. And then one day I'm picking up a speaker at this dude's house here on the mountain to add to my collection of gear. And he's like, you're a DJ? I should talk to this person, we'll get you playing here. So I asked him for the email, and what do you know? Like I'm booking gigs at Jose's patio, which is on the base of Mount Crested Butte. You like play on the patio, and then there's a whole mountain and it's après ski. I just play once a month because with training it is kind of hard to stand for 2.5 hours in the cold playing. And I really hope to be able to do more gigs, but this season it's just almost impossible. I've had to say no to a lot of stuff, but yeah, it just fills my cup up being able to dance and like create my own mashups of songs. Hope to put my own songs on there one day. It's just not the right time.
Oh my God, that is so cool. Do you are you more like deep house, trance? Like what's your stuff?
It's a bit of everything, but I'm really into new disco. I can't tell you why.
Okay.
But like they're all around a similar BPM. So like when you're DJing, you can't jump from 90 to 140. You can do certain things like loop to get there. But I do memorize BPMs of all these songs. I'm lucky to have that kind of memory and figure out sets and what works. But you also have to read the room or read the audience and what time of year it is. And if you're around any certain holidays, and you cater to that. Everyone loves Moonlight, like Free Bird, but he has a lot of other good music that you can use. And that's really popular right now. Yeah.
That is so crazy. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm going to have a pod party one of these days, maybe at the end of the summer. And I'm going to get you out to DJ it and It's going to be wild.
Should I tell the story about what happened at the Golden Trail final?
That's what I want to hear. Yeah.
So maybe 2 months in advance, I after DJing at the Mammoth Golden Trail, which was also an on the day organizational thing, and I had to find someone in that area who had a deck, because we had the venue and we had the people that wanted to party. So I in a matter of 3 hours pulled together a deck and DJ'd this with another local DJ who happened to be running Mammoth, and that went awesome. And I thought, okay, do they need someone for the grand final? So I emailed, no, we're all set, we're all good. So it gets to the last day of the Golden Trail finals in Switzerland, and I get this WhatsApp message that was like, we need a DJ for tonight. And I'm thinking, I actively made the decision. It was in my car when I got to the airport not to bring the deck. I was like, nah, they said it's all sorted. This is too much extra luggage. I'm bopping from place to place. I'm not bringing it. Should have bought it because I did end up DJing. I was like, what the hell? I'll just do it. It's really good to put yourself on the spot. But the deck was half broken. So I sat in a casino on Sunday, the only place in the town in Switzerland we were in that had Wi-Fi and that was open on a Sunday, downloaded a DJ software on my laptop because my deck is so cool. It has the software in it. It's touchscreen. It's basically a computer. I don't need a laptop when I'm DJing, but now I do. And so I downloaded this, built a set in 2 hours on my laptop, plugged it into this half-working deck and just winged it. But it went off without a hitch and no one noticed any of the mistakes I made. And I was like, well, there you go. And I think I felt more success from doing something like that than an organized gig where I'd really planned it.
That is so crazy. I'm sure everybody loved it too. Oh my God. It must have been wild.
The police came to shut us down. Actually,
yes.
We were in a huge marquee in the middle of the town square, because all these Eurocities have that cobblestone town square, and they shut us down.
That's amazing. How was the Mammoth Trail Fest one? I know they get kind of wild. They do a beer mile, and then they just throw a giant party. I haven't actually not been to Mammoth yet. I gotta go put that on my list one year, but that one's a wild one too, right?
Yeah, where else do you see Elazine and Remy dancing to Rasputin doing Cossack dancing?
Oh my God. How's that not surfaced on the internet yet?
Yeah, well, I don't think anyone filmed it, but being able to provide the music for that and, watching everyone forming dance circles and clapping and just come together outside of a race environment where, you're not in athlete brain mode was awesome. You just can't help but smile.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's so crazy too. Actually, this is something I meant to ask you. Now that you made the top 30 for next year, how does that work? There's different tiers of sponsorship they provide, correct? Based off of where your placement is on the final series?
Yeah. I do get a free choice of bibs, where I want to go and what I want to attend. So we're planning that at present. And yeah, top 20 get more financials. Everyone gets bibs in the top 30 to whatever race they choose. Top 10 get financial support. But there are discretionary decisions that are made depending on if you have sponsorship or not, because they want, the top 30 to be at that next one to make it as competitive as possible. So we kind of wait to hear about that.
Interesting. Now, from a sponsorship perspective, is that something you're actively in the process of pursuing over the next few years, looking for a brand sponsor to work with?
Yeah, I'm trying, and it isn't easy at all.
No, this year has been particularly hard for a lot of athletes, really hard.
Yeah, 100%. I just, it's always a question of, is there enough money? For some reason this year, it seems like there's even less. I'm sure people know more about that than I do, but yeah, it would help because I can't keep self-funding this and working all these different jobs and trading marketing for gear, things like that, starting fundraisers. It's interesting because sometimes I really feel what is enough, this year. And I know it's not about this, but it is important for people to hear this. What is enough?
Yeah.
What are the criteria? What do you have to do? I think it's just important to be a good member of the community, be a good role model, do as best you can. But at the end of the day, none of this is sponsorship driven. I would do this no matter what. It's just me. It's my life right now. And if someone wants to join my team and I like them and I like what they do and what they're about and their gear, cool. But otherwise, I'm just going to keep being running, skiing, music, Lara. And that's that.
Love it. Yeah. No, it's this year was a particularly like devastatingly hard year for a lot of athletes. I know a lot of athletes got either dropped or have nobody's like signing. It's been crazy. Like just on the inside, it's been interesting to kind of follow that and kind of see where it's been going. So hopefully next year brands will have more funds and be able to open it up for more, because oh my God, there's so many good athletes that like are unsponsored this year. It's like, what the hell? Yeah, it's frustrating. It's very frustrating to see. Like as a member of the community, it's not that great. So
yeah, well, thanks to people like Andy, there is like other ways to get support, with the trail team.
Yeah.
So that was pretty awesome this past year.
Yeah, can you talk about that actually a little bit? Like just the experience that you had with them?
Yeah. So the number one thing is you get teammates and you get to meet a bunch of people, and then you see them all over the world and all over the US. And I even got to go to the US trail running conference with Shay, and we became really close there. And that's the most important part. And the best part about it is like, you guys can all live in different places, but there's camps and there's share houses at races, and you go and you're going to see people that you're friends with and familiar with and have training partners and people to warm up with and people to cook meals with. And then if you want alone time, everyone's cool because, you respect each other. And that's awesome. Yeah, I couldn't really have asked for much more, especially in a way of opportunities to go to these highly competitive races. Andy really helped pave the way with the trail team. Otherwise, none of this would have been possible. Like, I couldn't have gone everywhere that I went last year.
Yeah, he's amazing. Everything that he's done to create this and like continue to just pave the way. I mean, if anything, I just hope, and that's something I'll link in the show notes as well if people are interested in like donating to the trail team that listen to this. Yeah, because it's definitely so. I don't think people realize like how impactful it is for athletes and how much it helps you guys to be able to get from place to place, and help you guys from races to pretty much everything. So it's amazing to hear. So
yeah.
So what did we miss? I've got some Australia questions for you.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Dude, I keep seeing all these videos on Instagram of the giant huntsman spiders. Like, I don't do spiders. I grew up in the other land down under Florida, and like we have giant spiders, but like your guys' spiders are on a whole nother level. Like what's the deal there? Like, are you a spider person?
Yeah. So the spiders, the huntsman spiders come inside when it's about to rain or storm. They're seeking shelter. They're those big brown ones that have a little bit of fluff. Well, I never killed them because I felt bad. They actually eat the mosquitoes. I don't want it to stay in my room, but like if you don't have any mosquitoes, you're also not getting bit by mosquitoes. So that's great. It's a double-edged sword. You got to choose whether you want the huntsman in the room or not. But typically me and my sister would be like, Dad, there's a spider in our room. Can you come help us get it out? And he would come up the stairs with a newspaper and a glass, and he'd put the glass over the spider and then slide the newspaper underneath and then take the spider downstairs and throw it outside. And everything was fixed. So that was my experience with spiders. We get taught at school, don't put your hand down dark holes, lift up rocks and, do all of that stuff because there'll be red black spiders. I can't even remember what they're called, but the ones that kill you.
Trapdoor spiders. Oh yeah. I'm terrified of them. Yeah, not good. I don't do spiders. It's like Colorado for some reason. I didn't think we'd have big spiders here, but we do.
I've seen spiders up here. I thought that they weren't here, but clearly they are.
Yeah. And snake. I feel like everything wants to kill you in Australia. You guys have crocodiles, snakes, and then surfing with the great white sharks. Like I know, especially on the Sydney side, like, I mean, actually that's not too far north. Like you guys get great whites on that side, no?
Yeah. Well, they like colder waters. but typically they hang down in South Australia and Western Australia. And, I don't get down that way a lot. My dad loves surfing and does. And one time he went surfing in a place called Shark's Restaurant, and I'm over here, and my mum texted me that, and I was like, why? It's like, oh, the waves were really good. It's called that for a reason, but you'd have to be so unlucky, honestly. There's just rules of thumb. You don't surf super early in the morning when it's dark,
Yeah.
or when the sun's setting. You can, but I would stick with the pack of people. Or you just take the risk, because sometimes the surf's so good, what the hell? Like, you're probably going to get hit by a car more than you're going to get
hit by a shark. True.
Eaten by a shark.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like so I grew up in Florida, did a lot of diving, and you'd see bull sharks all over the place. And like, bull sharks are really mean and really nasty and just not the best. But like, I don't know, I feel like at least diving, I'm in the water and I can like see the shark. But like, I feel like if you're sitting on top of the water at like surfing, it's like so much harder because you can't really see what's below you. It's a little harder, but crazy. Interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you can do. You can stick like a face on the bottom of your surfboard and wear shark bands and just follow the rules, and you can reduce your risk. It's kind of like anything, I guess. Yeah. I'd be more scared of doing my ACL training and skiing than being bit by a shark.
Yeah, that's true. Or like riding a motorcycle. Like, things happen all the time. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Well, hey, I don't want to take up all your time. I feel like we hit most of it, so I definitely want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This was a great conversation, hopefully the first of many. Want to obviously wish you the best of luck in your season as it comes up, and I can't wait to follow along over the next few months. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it, and I'll probably I'll see probably a broken arrow. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to stop the recording now. Thanks.
No worries.
What'd you guys think? What a fun episode. I really want to thank Lara so much for coming on. It was really exciting and insightful getting to just follow her journey and learn about all kinds of different things. Talk about all the crazy shit went down at the Golden Trail World Series final, some of the DJ stuff, as well as her upbringing and her plans and goals. So I really want to wish her the best of luck as she begins her Olympic journey now, and as she makes her plans for her 2025 mountain running season. Before we get going, guys, hop on Instagram. Let's get her some followers. If you guys type in Lara, LARA_Hamilton, HAMILTON, give her a follow. Let her know what you think about the podcast, and send her some words of encouragement. She's got a lot of big Skimo races coming up, so I'm sure she would love to hear from you guys. Some amazing words of encouragement as you wish her luck for all these incredible races she's going to undertake. So give her a follow. Last but not least, if you guys enjoyed this episode, do me a favor, give us a 5-star rating and review on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. That would mean the absolute world to me, so we can continue to share these episodes and cover the great sport of sub-ultra that we love so much. Last but not least as well, share it on Instagram. That would be dope. Guys, have an amazing rest of your week. I've got a really dope episode with none other than Arc'teryx athlete Connor Cook coming out on Friday. That is a wild boy. I am so excited to share that one with you guys. Have a great rest of your week.